Pick up a euro note. Look closely. There's no gold on it. Number King's portrait. No government seal. Because the country called the Eurozone doesn't exist on any map. It's just paper, printed with a bridge that isn't real, that doesn't exist in any city on Earth. And yet, every day, roughly 350 million people trade their labor, their time, pieces of their lives for it. How did humanity end up trusting paper more than gold? This is the story of trust, and the most ambitious experiment ever built on top of it. Before money, people traded goods directly, but barter has a built-in flaw economists call the double coincidence of wants. To make a trade, you don't just need someone who has what you want. You need someone who wants what you have, at the same time. A potter who needs fish has to find a fisherman who happens to need a pot right now. If the fisherman doesn't need a pot, the deal falls apart, even if both sides are willing to trade. As societies grew more complex, this system became almost unworkable. Humanity needed something else, an object everyone would agree to accept. Across the ancient world, different cultures reached the same solution, starting with very different objects. In Africa and Asia, cowrie shells circulated as currency for thousands of years, so universally that the Chinese character for money is rooted in the symbol for a shell. Roman soldiers were partly paid in salt, which may be where the word salary comes from. And across much of Eurasia, cattle were the main form of wealth. The Latin word for money, pecunia, comes from pecus, livestock. But all of these had the same problem. You can't easily divide a cow, and no two cows are ever exactly equal. The breakthrough came from a small kingdom called Lydia, in modern-day Turkey, around the 7th century BCE. King Alyattes, and later his son, the legendary Croesus, whose name became a byword for wealth, began minting the world's first standardized coins from electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. The real innovation wasn't the metal. Gold and silver had been used for ages. The innovation was the stamp, a royal guarantee that every coin held the same weight and purity. So people no longer had to weigh and test every single payment. That one detail, trust backed by authority, not the metal itself, becomes the main character of everything that follows. By the 10th century, China's Song dynasty economy had outgrown its coins. Moving cartloads of copper for large transactions was slow and dangerous. Merchants started issuing paper receipts, redeemable for metal at a fixed location. The state took notice and brought the system under its own control, creating jiaozi, the world's first government-issued paper money. When Marco Polo brought the idea back to Europe in the 13th century, almost nobody believed him. Money with no inherent value, just paper, sounded less like genius and more like fraud. It would take Europe another 400 years to dare try it. Well into the 20th century, the world ran on a simple promise. Paper currency was just a receipt, redeemable at any time for real gold in a vault. That was the gold standard, and it gave money physical backing. Trust rested on metal, not government. On August 15, 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon announced, in a televised address, that the dollar would no longer be convertible into gold. No vote, no lengthy debate, one decision, and the gold standard was gone. From that moment on, every currency on Earth officially became what China had quietly figured out 1,000 years earlier, a promise with nothing physical behind it. The value of a dollar, a pound, a euro rests on one thing only, that enough people agree to believe in it. And that is exactly where the boldest currency experiment of the 20th century begins. After 2 world wars had devastated the continent, European leaders arrived at a radical idea. If economies were tangled together closely enough, war between them would become practically impossible. Economic integration as a way to buy peace. Over decades that idea grew, and in 1992 the Maastricht Treaty set an audacious goal. A single currency for nations that had spent 1,000 years fighting each other, printing their own money, and guarding their sovereignty. On January 1, 1999, the euro was born. but only as an accounting currency, used by banks and markets. It wasn't in anyone's wallet yet. That happened on January 1st, 2002, when euro cash landed in the hands of ordinary people across 12 countries. Simultaneously, the largest currency changeover in human history. What makes the euro unlike anything before it? For the first time, a major currency isn't issued by a country. The euro has no army, no single treasury, no one government responsible for its debts. The European Central Bank manages money for more than 20 sovereign nations at once, an experiment with essentially no precedent. When Greece's debt crisis hit in 2010, the world asked one question: could a currency with no single government survive its first real test? Many analysts gave it only a few years. The euro survived, but what it cost to survive is a story of its own. Today, the story of money is turning another page. Central banks around the world, including in Europe, are developing digital versions of their currencies. Cryptocurrencies are trying to bring back something money hasn't had since the gold standard: independence from any single government, from a cowrie shell to a digital euro on a phone screen. This whole story was never really about metal, or paper, or code. It's about one simple fact: money works exactly as long as enough people believe in it, at the same time. So next time you're holding a banknote, remember, you're not holding paper. You're holding the largest shared agreement in human history. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. The next one goes even deeper.